right, guys, last notes of the year. So earlier in the week, we learned how to find percents and parts and wholes, all of that to do with percent. So this last little bit that we're going to add today is how to find things like percent increase and a percent decrease. So what I would like you to do is I'd like you to copy down this essential question. And then we are calling this, what you see here, a line diagram. So go ahead and copy this whole thing down, and then we're just going to practice it a whole bunch. So our essential question today is finding percent increase and decrease. So instead of just finding the percent, now we're going to use it to figure out, usually it's going to be like how much things cost is normally what it's going to be. So if it's on sale, what does it cost now? Or maybe it's a markup, what does it cost? So we've got this line diagram that I had you draw, and it's broken down into kind of like 4 pieces. So the easy one is this part right here. This first chunk will always be 100%. It's kind of like when we did our proportions where you could just default. This one is always the 100%. Okay, above it, so percents are going to go on the bottom and numbers are going to go on the top. Above it is what we're putting as the whole, right? It makes sense because it goes on top of the 100. So the whole number that we're dealing with. Then this second half over here has to do with the percent increase or the percent decrease. So your story will say like on sale for 20% off, decrease, or an increase of 5% increase. So when you're reading a story, the first thing you're going to decide is this a increase or a decrease? Whatever that percent being increased or decreased is going to go on the bottom. So again, percents go on the bottom. And then this is probably what you're going to have to find out. So this will be kind of your X, but it's going to be the amount that is increased or the amount that has decreased. And I want you to notice something very important. If it's an increase, we're going to use addition. If it is a decrease, we're going to use subtraction, which I'm sure you think makes sense. So if it says 20% off, you're going to say, okay, decrease, and I'm going to subtract. If it says an additional 50%, that is an increase, and we're going to add. So if you wanted to add, you might say, look for the word off. So 20% off is going to give you a decrease. Increase, it's not quite as clear wording wise. And then once you take that whole that you started with and you either add or subtract, you're going to get the total amount. To find this, to find what the amount increase is or decrease, we're going to use our percent proportions that we learned about on Monday. So what we did on Monday is going to directly apply to these notes. So let's just jump in and do an example and work our way through it. So here's your first example. It says you buy a new phone. Originally it cost $500, but was on sale for 20% off. How much was it on sale? So step 1, we need to set up our percent proportions. So if you remember, that was the whole, this was the part, this is always 100%, always, always, always. And then this is the percent from the story. Okay, so what is, let's highlight what's important. It says originally cost 500 and 20% off. So what's that 500 going to be? Well, the 500 is the original amount. So 500 is your whole and 20% is the percent. So that's going to go here. And we are trying to figure out what the part is. So once we get there, we're going to cross multiply. So multiply across. I'm going to get 100x equals, should be 1,000, I believe. Just adds a 0 because, yep. And then to get X by itself, we divide by 100, X by itself, divide by 100, and we should get those cancel, and X should equal 10. Okay, so that's important information, that 10. Step 2, we need to decide if this is an increase or a decrease. So after you copy this down, what do you think? Do you think this is adding to the original cost, or is it taking away from when you see the word on sale for 20% off? Yeah, this is a decrease, which means we need to subtract. Decrease means that we are going to subtract. So now that we know the part, we know that we're subtracting, we're gonna fill in a line diagram. So I'll pause and let you get this set up. Okay, what number needs to go above our 100%? What's the original amount? So that's gonna be our 500. Okay, what is, if we look at our notes, I need the percent increase or decrease. What was that? So that's a 20% decrease. And I used this up here to figure out what that 20% is. So step 1, we take that answer and we put that there. So this is going to be $10 that we got from our work in step 1. And is it addition or subtraction? It's decrease, so it's a subtraction. So minus, and you can put it in parentheses or just leave it. So all we have to do is 500 minus 10. So our total amount should be 490. So again, step 1 was to find out what that 20% is. It's $10. Then we say, okay, is it an increase or a decrease? If it's an increase, we would add. If it's a decrease, we're going to subtract. And then we fill out our line diagram. We know that 100% or the whole was $500. It was a decrease of 20%, and 20% is $10. So 500 minus 10 is 490. So let's see if you can work your way through this next one on your own. See if you can set it up. You go out to eat with your family. The bill was, actually, let's take it one step at a time. The bill was $55. You want to leave a 22% tip. How much is the total cost? I would like you to copy this down and set up your percent proportions. All right, so when we set it up, I can go in and I can put my 100% here, and the other percent goes up top. That's 22. And then the whole is 55. So I'm looking for the part. And with these line diagrams, pretty much every time you're going to be looking for the part. We cross multiply. So multiply across. You're going to get 100x equals 1210. Get rid of that 100 by dividing by 100. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Those 100s cancel, and x should be 12.1. And again, this is money, so totally okay to have decimals, 12.10. Okay, step 2. Take a second to copy this down and then decide if you're leaving a tip on a bill, is that going to be increase or decrease? So it's going to be increase, which means we're going to add. So now use your notes. See if you can fill out this line diagram. I'll pause it and let you work. Okay, so my whole this time was that 55. It was an increase, so I'm adding. It was an increase of 22%. And part one told me that that 22% is $12.10. Now that I have it filled out, I just have to do that math. 55 plus 12.10 is going to be 67.10. So let's try this one more time. Let's see if you can do the whole thing by yourself this time. So it says you're clothes shopping with your friends in Washington. The shirt you want costs $7.99. If there is a sales tax of an additional 0.5%, how much will you actually pay? So I'll help you right now. And instead of, don't put 5 as your percent, it needs to be 0.5. You don't want to pay a 5% tax. You would much rather pay 0.5. And we know that this is 100. Okay, see if you can figure this one out. All right, so when we set this up, we should have said that the whole was $7.99 and that we didn't know what that part was yet. We'll cross multiply, get 100x equals, I'm totally going to use a calculator for this, 7.99 times 0.5 is rounded to 3.99. You could have rounded to 4. I'm going to leave it at 3.99. Divide by 100 to get x by itself. What I do to one side, I do to the other. 100s are gone. X now, it should equal 0.03. And maybe we'll round that to 0.04 because it's money. We only need to take it 2 decimal places. So there is the extra tax. Hopefully you said that sales tax, hopefully this is something you know, is an increase. We are lucky that we do not have sales tax in Oregon, but almost every other state does. So when you go up to Seattle or Tacoma or wherever and you go shopping, you have to pay a little bit extra for everything you buy. Okay, when you set your line diagram up, you should have put your $7.99 on the top. This was an increase, so we're adding. The percent was 0.5%, and our percent proportion told me that that was 0.04. So when you do that math, feel free to use a calculator again. 799 plus 0.04 is 803. So that's it. Really, the only new part was deciding if it's an increase or decrease. And then once you figure out how to set this up, it's really, really easy. You're just gonna add across the top or subtract across the top to figure out the new amount after that increase or decrease.